Welcome to the Marnese Live Show, a show where we can talk about life issues and social issues to make a positive change. So tonight marks like the year anniversary when I first started the show, and I had a big conversation about the pandemic, right? Last year we experienced this pandemic, which we're still in, and I have some returning guests who are going to talk about where we are, and we all know that we have this vaccine that's out here, and there is some hesitancy about it, right? But then also we're going to touch on mental health aspect, and then also, you know, just living in the pandemic. So I want to welcome my wonderful guests who are here right now. We should be expecting a couple more later on in the show. So we have Michael Imhotep, Dr. Theresa Johnson, and Brandon Brice. So I'm going to welcome them into the Marnese Live Talk Show, and here they are.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Miss Marnese.
How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Miss Marnese.
How are you guys doing? So I'm getting some feedback on my end, but I'm going to fix that real quick. So
yeah, double check and make sure you don't have two tabs open in Facebook, because you'll get feedback.
Thank you, Michael. And so, you know, this is the awesome thing about having two radio talk show host people on, because they can help you with your technical and audio. So thank you so much, Michael. All right. So while I'm doing that, welcome back, I wanted to say, because Dr. Theresa Johnson was with us last year, and Brother Michael Imhotep was on the show last year. But welcome, Brandon. I know we were on a couple other panels together outside of the Marnese Live Talk Show, but I'm so happy that you all are here tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing started, right? So we're still in a pandemic, right?
Yes.
And so tonight we're going to be talking about, of course, the vaccine, hesitancy, mental health. But I just wanted to start, like, how are you all doing? Because this is Mental Health Month.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to check in. How are you all doing? And I'm going to start with Dr. Theresa Johnson.
I am doing well, health-wise, and still doing a lot of self-care, mentally anyways. But I'm a little burnt out on the pandemic, as I'm sure a lot of people are. Last year around this time, I just remember a lot of tears, a lot of mixed emotions, and we didn't really have a good idea of what we were in for. I thought by this time we would have definitely been on the other side of the pandemic. So I'm just a little burnt out, to be quite honest.
Yeah. And so you're saying burnt out, like, how are you taking care of yourself?
I have, now that I'm back home, I have put together my own home gym. So that's I even got a Peloton. That's my gift to myself during the pandemic. So trying to work out and keep those endorphins going, and really just making the most of the time that I do have with my family. Because that's one thing that I realized: you can be here today and gone tomorrow. So really valuing that quality time when I do have it with family and friends, and that to me has been keeping me sane.
All right. So, Brother Michael, how are you doing?
It's a stressful time for a number of reasons. One, I'm on the radio 6 days a week, so during the Derek Chauvin trial, I watched every day of the trial, watched basically all the testimony, read through testimony, watched video of it, and reported on it at night. So it was traumatic for me. Mm-hmm. It was like, I mean, during that trial, I probably cried more during that trial than probably the previous 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of the police killings and things like that, I do read about it. I talk about it some on my show. I try not to make that the center of my show because it's traumatic. Mm-hmm. And whatever information I provide on my show is just a fraction of the information that I've researched and taken in. So just for my own mental health, I have to be careful of how much of that information I cover on the show. And then, during this whole pandemic, there friends and things like that we've lost, friends who either got sick or recovered, but friends that we lost, you're dealing with that. Then, I'm dealing with personal, things, relationship, whatever, what have you. So it's a lot right now. Probably better now than I was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot all taking place at the same time. Hopefully we're toward the end of this mythological rainbow, but it's because things are starting to open back up. Mm-hmm. You have a higher percentage of the American population vaccinated now. Mm-hmm. So this is a lot. This reminds me of the Spanish flu pandemic, the Great Pandemic in 1918, because a lot of these same things happened then. People wore masks, people social distance, schools were shut down, churches were shut down. A lot of the same things that happened in 1918 and 1919 are taking place right now.
So I'm glad you lifted up the whole racial injustice that has been happening in our country, which has always been happening. It's always been taking place, but it's definitely explicit. You see it on TV. How are you like taking care of yourself? I know you're not making sure it consumed you and bringing it to your show, but what are some things are you doing? Theresa says she has her home workout, and she's doing a lot of awesome stuff.
I got my home gym. I use it a little bit. I'm about to start using it more. I have the equipment here in my apartment. And the whole social justice thing, the other flip side of this is white domestic terrorism that we're dealing with right now as well. We're dealing with white domestic terrorism. We're dealing with people who still trying to overthrow the government in various ways. And then you're dealing with an attack on critical race theory and the 1619 Project, but you're dealing with an attack in state legislatures on trying to teach about the history of racism, teach about systemic racism, things like this in schools. We've just seen laws passed in, Texas is about to pass a law. Their House of Representatives just passed a law. Governor Brad Little of Idaho just passed a law banning critical race theory to be taught in schools. You see this coming from Republican-dominated state legislatures and being signed into law by Republican governors. So we're dealing with this attack all at the same time. So it's a lot right now. Yeah,
and as a Black person, living in our country now is really stressful.
As a conscious Black person.
Well,
see, you have some people who are still oblivious.
That's true.
But when you understand this and you see the attack that's taking place, and then you try to explain to other people who are high or what have you, who are oblivious to the attack, that's a lot right there. But the attack is ongoing from different sides. From multiple sides, the attack on African people right now in this country is ongoing from multiple sides, and then they're trying to just for instance, if you watch the testimony from the Capitol Hill hearing that took place today, or yesterday, you had some, not all Republicans, but you had some Republicans who are allies of Trump, who one of them was acting like, well, hey, look, if you didn't know that footage was from January 6th, you think it was just a regular tour of the U.S. Capitol building. You still have people who are in denial of what was engineered at the same time, and at the same time, you have an attack in state legislatures trying to attack voting rights. Okay, so this is, these are wicked times that we're dealing with also.
Thank you, Michael. So I want to go to Brandon, but I want to welcome Mr. Kiyoshi Shelton in to the Marnese Live Talk Show. We're talking about, I'm asking everybody, how are they doing? And you was with me last year when I started the show, Kiyoshi. So checking in on everybody, see how their mental health is going. But Brandon, I'm coming to you, and then Kiyoshi, while you getting settled, I'm gonna come to you.
So the question is, how's my mental health?
Your mental health, what are you doing to, I guess, cope, right? Black people, I just feel like we're just trying to make it through the day, right? We're just trying to get through the week. So what are you doing?
Well, I'll tell you this. I am, so the answer to your question, so to cope, I am doing what I always enjoy doing, which is traveling. And so I'm an angler. I like to fish, and I like to play golf, and I like to do things to steer my psyche from what is actually happening. Brother Imhotep mentioned some things that I'll probably kind of comment on. But I think it's a little different. When we look at, I call it Black folks being eyes wide shut. And what I mean by that is there is a transformation that is happening in our nation, in our world, in our country. And this is the biggest transformation of power that we've probably ever seen. I'll start with the pandemic. I won't get into the specifics of whether you should get it or not. I think that's on you. But when we look at the true pandemic that has happened in our communities, Black folks, in my opinion, in some of our neighborhoods and communities, we've had an impact of a pandemic over the last 30 years. It just got exposed under this, what we call COVID-19. But you can go to places like Inkster, Romulus, Flint, Baltimore, and we've seen neighborhoods that just now the country is starting to say, "Oh wow, we didn't know it was that bad." Black folks on this phone knew it was that bad, but the world is starting to see that it's that bad. So I'll go with there. Segue to the economy. I read something today that talked about how folks don't want to go to work because of now they're getting these stimulus checks. But one may have to ask, well, whose economy is being impacted? When you start looking at now, we've got a digital currency where people are literally talking about in the next 20 years, we may not have, in some cases, the dollar that we've known all our life may not exist. But here's the catch, and I've talked about this a lot on my show, is that the racism isn't just in certain areas where we know it may be. The racism is in the math. The racism is in the technology. The racism is in algorithm, which some people still don't know what that is, but it impacts them every day. And I'll give you, when I look at systematic racism, I don't look at, certain folks storming a Capitol. That's your opinion. I look at systematic racism as the fact that no longer is a man reading your resume to decide if you get a job or not. It's a computer that's being programmed by someone who there's even bias in the programming. Yeah. So we've really got to look at, when we look at the times that we're in, this new age, we're still worried about racism and things from the 1960s and Jim Crow, when the racism is here and it looks different and it's called technology. And if we don't hurry up and get on that board, we're lost. Because I can tell you right now that I'll close, math, which is ironic, Black people, African people, founded math. We discovered it, but it's the math that's keeping us back from an economic standpoint, from a workforce standpoint, from an academic standpoint. And so I go back to say, until we address the racism in the math, we'll still keep singing the same song.
Thank you, Brandon. And you, Michael, thanks so much for bringing the historical context. And then a different way I was going to go, but I'm glad you guys mentioned it. So Kiyoshi, welcome. How are you doing?
What's up? Doing good. How you doing, Marnese?
I'm wonderful. So I wanted to say, how are you doing emotionally, mentally, spiritually, after 1 year after we found out that this virus was here in the United States? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
No complaints. I'm very blessed, counting my blessings every day. Very much in gratitude for where I'm at and, my position and being able to still work and make money and make ends meet and pay bills. I know a lot of people are suffering out there, so my heart goes out to everybody, and I just feel the collective heartbeat. I just feel like a lot of people out there struggling, and mental health is definitely a much needed topic of discussion, and so I appreciate you bringing that up, especially in communities of color. So, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Just being able to work online, teach my courses, and still doing my one-on-one coaching, and been on a lot of Zoom calls and since last year, since the pandemic started. So sometimes I get a little over it because I'm ready for things to open up, but it is what it is. You can only Zoom is the next best thing, I think. So and also what you have here, the streaming platform is pretty cool. So it's good to see y'all faces. Good to see Michael Imhotep. I think you were part of an event I did, or I think it was a Return of the Gods. It was in San Diego. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
What's up? You all right? I thought the
yeah,
name looked familiar.
I performed out there with
Herb Alchemist and Kateria No.
Yeah, Kateria.
Yeah, I was out there with Professor Cabo Hiawatha Kamene, who were honorees that year.
Exactly. And I saw you were based in Detroit, right?
Yeah, I live in Detroit, man. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm in Ann Arbor, Ipsy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
ground zero for gentrification, Detroit. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
All right. So
anyway, yeah, I'm doing good.
The Marnese Live is a reunion show. This is awesome.
I thought that name something familiar, Kiyoshi. I was like, where did I know that name from?
Right.
All right. So Kiyoshi, I really wanted to talk about this because I've been and I'm glad I seen your post on Facebook about, you're not taking the vaccine. And I was like, he got to come on my show because when I was talking about this on my other talk show platform, I'm like, I do not want to get this thing, right? But I went and got it. Okay. And so now I'm feeling some type of way. Why I do that to myself? Okay. So I wanted to get your thoughts on your feelings about your hesitancy and not really wanting to, go along with getting it, if you don't mind disclosing. Because, honestly, there's a lot of bully behavior going on out here, okay? To be real about this, and that can mess with people mental health, right?
Right.
So I'm putting it out there tonight. I'm tired of people, you got it, you didn't get it, and now the CDC is saying that if you get it's just like so divisive. You don't have to wear your mask anymore. And Theresa, I'm coming to you.
I just heard that today. Yeah, I saw Keith Jason posted something about CDC saying that we're not. Yeah, they're saying we don't have to wear masks. That's super new to me. I didn't hear this
that's
until
like you're fully vaccinated.
Right, you're fully vaccinated.
Okay, I got you. Okay, yeah. So you're asking me how I feel. I'm no expert. I've been, I guess, vocal a little bit on social media. I mainly speak my truths through music or poetry, as I'm a lyricist. So I have something here that basically answers your question as to how I feel. If you want me to spit this out for you, if that's okay. Okay.
Well, okay. I'm always ready to hear you.
It's only a couple, maybe like 2 minutes long. All right. So some friends have asked me why I don't trust this Medicaid system. Well, in the past 10 years, every time I go to the doctor, I felt like they would not even give a damn for my system. I worked 4.5 years at the University of Michigan Hospital and saw countless lives end while their money was sucked away. Every time I get the flu shot, I'd end up sicker than before. Now, what sense does that make? My friend passed away from cancer last year, and before she died, she told me how crazy expensive her bills were. My other friend who has a rare disease, well, her retirement funds are fully exhausted and mentally she's still hurt. If they really cared about our health, poverty would easily be eliminated. Alternative and preventative health care facilities will be in every ghetto, and missing lives wouldn't sit in cages. The 1% with billions ain't concerned about us getting healthy. So when I hear these commercials promoting vaccines, what does that really tell me? You see, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram have been known to promote this vaccine so heavily, while at the same time censoring holistic doctors who advocate for vitamin D and natural remedies. I have no reason to trust Fauci and Gates. They're connected to people who do the same acts as those who got rid of Malcolm, Marley, and MLK. And by the way, people of color are disproportionately underserved in terms of medical care. So personally, I'd rather listen to my indigenous ancestors in prayer than trust a system with secret Tuskegee syphilis projects. That ain't fair. I had to remove the blindfold from my third eye first. Clearly saw corrupt practices done by companies like Pfizer. Speaking of which, the ex-vice president of Pfizer said himself, there is no need for vaccines to end this pandemic. And this is from the mouth of the former co-head of Pfizer. See, I've searched and saw hearts colder than icebergs, told the new Gaia I'll help create her like Tyler. This is just my experience. Ain't looking to start no internet war. Felt the call to share my views as I continue to respect yours. So my question today is, considering the corrupt history of this medical industry and my experiences, my experience with it, why should someone like me be convinced to take this vaccine? And that's what I wrote.
Yes.
So that basically, kind of sums up my response to your question. You know, I'm no expert. I mean, I have, actually, my parents just took the vaccine. My lady friend just took it. So I see both sides. I've studied both sides. I'm no doctor, but, I've done a lot of research over the past 8 to 10 years. And, I feel like there's doctors on both sides that are saying different things, but they're all like super highly credible and qualified experts. So it's really hard to see and hard to navigate. I really just, my heart goes out to everybody. And I know these are troubling and crazy times. So I can see how somebody would take the vaccine and I can see how somebody would not want to take it. So me personally, I'm like, I don't have a reason to trust the system. And they're promoting it so hard. It's like, they're not even telling us really how to stay healthy. Like I just saw some ad from McDonald's. McDonald's has the vaccine shot on it. It's like, what the and they're like giving free Dunkin' Donuts for people to get vaccine shots. Like, here, you got vaccinated, I'm gonna give you free donuts. Yeah, I think Dunkin' Donuts. So it's like you got all these fast food companies that are aligned with Gates and Fauci like that. It seems sketchy as fuck. Like they never cared about our health. So why would they care now? That's how I look at it. That's facts.
Thank you, Kiyoshi. I want to shout out the chat. What's up, Lois? What's up, Ashley? That's Mama Lois, sorry. Ashley said, claps to you, Kiyoshi. Yes, awesome. Dr. Johnson, I'm coming to you. So, okay, for what you can tell us, what are some false narratives about this vaccine? Okay.
First, let me preface by saying I am not a COVID expert. I do not proclaim to be a COVID expert. I, like you guys, have read a lot of the evidence that's coming out and going through all these articles, and this expert says this versus this one said this. I actually was one of the people in the beginning where I did not want to take the vaccine. And people were shocked. My family members were like, are you crazy? Like, do you remember what you saw in New York? And I'm just like, yes. But for myself, I was like, having a lot of the same thoughts he had. Okay, well, this vaccine was developed pretty fast. Like, I just want to make sure. Let a couple thousand other people get it first and see like how they react. So there was a lot of uncertainty within myself. I just became vaccinated within the last month. And it took a lot for me to get to that point, and a lot of reflection just based off of, I know there's a lot of mistrust with the healthcare system, and a lot of people saying that, COVID is a hoax, and, this is something that we could easily get rid of. But coming from someone who did work firsthand and did run out of body bags and space for bodies and live the freezer trucks and all of that experience last year, I can actually say, it was surreal, and it is real. And it is something that is hard to explain if you weren't they're seeing so much death around you and feeling, I guess you can say hopeless, because, you know, I didn't join this profession to feel that I couldn't really help in a lot of ways. So just reflecting on those things and wanting to be safe as I continue to work in healthcare and keep my elderly family members and things safe. After looking through the evidence, I decided to get the vaccine, the Pfizer. So one of the common things that I hear in the debate of, you know, why is COVID such an issue, and people die from the flu every year, and we don't talk about the flu. So if you look up the research on the flu versus COVID, for example, the 2019-2020 season, there were 38 million people sick with the flu, 400,000 hospitalizations for the flu, and 22,000 deaths. And here we are talking about COVID, and as of this morning, 30 million cases, 583,000 deaths. So that's a big difference, 22,000, 583,000. So definitely a different virus. Whether or not, like a lot of people say, oh, it seems like it was something that was constructed or man-made. There's a lot of different theories out there as to where it came from. For one, I mean, I don't side one way or the other, because we actually don't know where it came from. It does seem like something peculiar, something like many of us have never seen before. And it's just like the super virus. Where did this come from? That a lot of the theories do sound like maybe, you know, there may be some truth to it. But the fact of the matter is we can't really do anything about how it got here. All we can try to do is survive and live through it. So in trying to reach that herd immunity, which seems pretty far away at this point, that's kind of my soapbox on why I decided to get vaccinated and why I urge a lot of other people to. But there is definitely a lot of mistrust within the Black community, and not just with the COVID vaccine, with healthcare, especially in this country in general. Even before COVID, this was something that quite frequently it has to be addressed. There are so many health disparities in the Black community, not just with COVID, but with high blood pressure, diabetes, access to care, just so many other things that are not being addressed. And I feel like COVID is kind of taking the front seat. We're not, you know, talking about any of these other things that are still affecting people, still killing people, especially in the Black community. We're not really addressing the barriers to healthcare. You know, we're just kind of pushing, you know, let's get through COVID, and ignoring everything else that's going on. But the mistrust, definitely it comes from, you know, a series of things, but the Tuskegee cases, that's definitely one thing that I hear from a lot of African Americans, especially some of our older African Americans who vividly, you know, remember a lot of these things growing up. So I'm just trying to educate them, and as a provider, just coming from a place of love and concern and care, and trying to answer the questions, you know, as best you can. When your patients are advocating for themselves and they have the right to ask questions, just giving them those open, honest answers and building rapport with the patients is kind of my approach in how to build trust with your patients and establish care with, you know, our African American patients.
So I wanted to go back to Michael and Brandon, because I know you both are very heavily involved in, you know, politics and covering politics and talk about it a lot. I wanted to get your thoughts on the vaccine possibly being a violation of our human rights. Because, you know, yes, they're pushing this vaccine like hotcakes. And we have other viruses out here, HIV/AIDS, and all these things out here, these different viruses that are still here, and there's no vaccine to all those, but like we have this one all of a sudden. But how do you feel about this possibly being a human rights violation? Because some parents don't want their kids to take the vaccine. I'm actually against that. And some kids may not be able to return back to school if they're not fully vaccinated, or you may not be able to fly to other countries because, transmitting the virus back and forth. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because me being an activist, and I immediately go there, right? No, I'm not trying to hurt anybody, I got the vaccine, and Theresa, this may be another question for you. Yes, we have the I'm fully vaccinated, but does it really protect you from spreading it again or getting it again?
No,
okay.
It doesn't, which is, the same with the flu shot. That doesn't guarantee you that you will not get COVID.
Okay, so going back to Michael and Brandon, I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I feel like the driver of this is capitalism. Well, not capitalism, but I just feel like something is different going on right now.
Let me address a few of these points. One, no vaccine is 100%, and the doctor knows this. No vaccine is 100%. With the COVID vaccine, what it does is one, it greatly reduces the chance of you having to be hospitalized if you get COVID-19. Greatly reduces the chance of you dying from COVID-19. And from the data that we're seeing now, if you're fully vaccinated, it greatly reduces the chance of you actually spreading it to somebody.
Okay, so let me stop you right there.
So this is what the vaccine does. No vaccine is 100% where you won't get the virus at all. But what this does is this greatly reduces the chance of you having a severe case of COVID-19, having to be hospitalized and dying from it.
For someone like me who had the virus in the fall,
yep,
and no one else in my family got the virus that
they
I
were
lived
lucky
with.
Because
they were lucky.
Everybody's not as lucky.
And I was not hospitalized. It was just really
you
mild.
You didn't have a severe case. You had a mild case of it.
So would it have made, hold on for a second, would it have made sense for me to went and got that vaccine?
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, yes, because even though you have antibodies from having it, from having coronavirus before, having a mild case, with the vaccine, you have a higher level of antibodies, okay? And you can get it a second time. If you get it a second time, it can be worse the second time. And the other thing that a lot of people are not talking about are what are called long haulers. And with long haulers, and the doctor knows about this, people are having long-lasting side effects from having coronavirus, not from the vaccine, but from having coronavirus, neurological issues with their heart, things like this. So, say that again.
Lung issues.
Doctor? Huh?
A lot of people are having prolonged lung issues.
Prolonged lung issues. A lot of people are having issues with their taste buds, their taste not coming back, their olfactory senses not coming back, things like this. So with long haul, the NBC News has a extensive article dealing with long haulers and about 99 symptoms that are related to long haulers. There's a lot to this. So I'm not saying people should take the vaccine. I'm saying people should consult with medical professionals that have medical credentials and talk to people that know your medical history. Okay. But yeah, even if you had coronavirus, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't get the vaccine.
Brandon,
so this is an interesting conversation, because I think we need to really take this time to speak truth to power about what's really going on, and not these politicals talking.
And that's what I'm trying to get to.
Wait. Hold on, let me finish. I think the challenge here, because I lost people from COVID, supposedly. And the challenge with that is to say that COVID doesn't exist. I think we can all say, okay, there is something going on right now. The challenge, though, and this is where we really need to speak truth to power, is we need to look at 5 letters that are driving this whole narrative, which is MONEY. And when we look at the amount of money that suddenly the Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates have now acquired in the name of these vaccines, when we look at the conversation that even the Pfizer CEO, we can Google this, the Pfizer CEO, the top man himself, said before the vaccine went public, he said, I'd rather let the public get it before I get it. I got a problem with that, because if you're the head person and you haven't taken the vaccine yet, then to me, that tells me You know something that the American people deserve to know, and you're hiding it because you're making money. The other part of that, and I think this is a bit much bigger and much more sensitive conversation, is we've got to really start to look at what is the threshold of public health as it relates to your civil liberties. Now, what do I mean by that? That means that when you start talking about, see, there used to be something called HIPAA, and I'm being funny when I say that, but health information, it should be between you and your provider, not shown around so you can travel, so you can go catch a plane, so you can get on a bus, so you can go to school. That is a total violation of this document we used to call the Constitution, the thing that is supposed to protect your rights. Now, who's impacted by this? Now, let me go a little further. This is a very serious issue when we talk amongst ourselves as Black people in America, because the reality is when white folks get a cold, Black people get bronchitis. We get heavy because we're now talking about, when we look at, how do these civil liberties, which we already, in some cases, were challenged to have in Black communities, how does this impact us and the way we live our lives? The fact that, if they're saying, well, you can't work without getting this shot, which we still don't know what's in it. They can tell you what's in it. And I got to give kudos to Johnson & Johnson. I'm not sure if, someone leaked it or if something happened. But my thoughts are, we as people, as Black people, as Americans, we need to start asking some very serious, hard questions, because now when you're looking at it, we need to ask the question, when has white America cared about Black issues like they have all of a sudden now? Ask that question. And it's a question that we can't, this is not a time for sound bites. This is not a time to sound good. We need real research when we're talking about people's lives being impacted. And I'll leave it here. Actress Letitia Wright, and I read this about probably 3 months ago. She said she wanted to find out more information about this vaccine, but she couldn't get the information from the CDC. So she went overseas to get the information. There's an African-American physician that literally said, if you want to get the vaccine, that's fine, but he gave the side effects of what can happen to you. And let me tell you what happened. Not only was she railroaded and said if she ever did that again, that they would ban her from Hollywood, but they banned this physician from providing information that people requested to know when it came to the Pfizer, the Moderna, and the Johnson & Johnson. And in some cases, he called out the Johnson & Johnson situation months before they came out and had to go public because people were being impacted by it. So I say that to say, we've got when we look at the bigger picture of what's going on right now, we have to look at to say, okay, we know what happened in Tuskegee. We know the relationship between racism and healthcare. And we have to literally start asking questions. Can we trust a systematic group? And can we trust those individuals who are profiting from the minute you get that shot? And that is a reality. And until we answer that question, we're going to continue to be in this dilemma.
Yeah. All right. So I have a question from the chat. Thanks so much, Brandon. How soon should you get the vaccine after having COVID-19? Dr. Johnson, could you take that one?
There's different evidence out there. A lot of the places are saying they want you to wait at least 90 days before you go and get your vaccine after you've had it.
Okay. Thank you so much, T, for your question. So, Michael, I'm going to go back to you. And Kiyoshi, if you want to chime in, please do. Michael?
Yes. Yeah, just very quickly. I just want to address the Tuskegee experiment, because a lot of people talk about it, and I see a lot of misinformation floating around on social media and social media memes about the Tuskegee experiment of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. So just so everybody understands this, yes, it was a bad study, but they did not inject them with syphilis. Just so everybody understands this. There were 600 men in the study. It started in 1932. It was supposed to last 6 to 9 months, ended up lasting about 40 years. It was conducted by the U.S. Public Health Service. There were 600 men in the study. 399 of the men had an early form of syphilis called latent syphilis, L-A-T-E-N-T, latent syphilis. Latent syphilis means you have syphilis, but you don't have any symptoms. 201 men in the study did not have syphilis at all. They were the control group. When you do an experiment, you compare the group that's exposed to the stimuli, you compare that to the control group that's not exposed to the stimuli. And they were tracked over a number of decades. In about 1945 or so, when penicillin became the treatment for syphilis, they were denied penicillin. They were told they had bad blood. They were never told that they had syphilis. They were given placebos, sugar pills, different things like this, okay? I'm not saying the study was a bad study. I'm not saying it wasn't bad. I'm saying I see a lot of misinformation floating around on social media about what the study was. It was exposed in about 1972 by the Associated Press. That's what ended the study, okay? But the men were not injected with syphilis, okay? They were denied treatment for syphilis. A better experiment would be the mustard gas experiment on African-American soldiers during World War II, where they were deliberately exposed to mustard gas, but white soldiers were not. And many of these men, some of them died, but many of them had lifelong ailments where their skin would peel off. Even some of them lived to be in their 90s. And I read about this. National Public Radio, NPR.org has an article dealing with this experiment on African-American soldiers during World War II. And this one brother, he had jars full of his skin that peeled off, that continues to do that. Now, that experiment, African-American soldiers were deliberately exposed to mustard gas. So I just want to give that clarification. If people want more information on this, you can read the article, because I've done a lecture dealing with the Tuskegee Experiment and some of these other experiments as well. J. Marion Sims, who's known as the father of modern gynecology, who did surgeries and experiments on African-American women with no anesthesia in the 1800s. But You've Got Bad Blood, the horror of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. You've Got Bad Blood, the horror of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment is one article you can read. That's from the Washington Post to get some real factual information on actually what happened.
All right. So I'm going to go to Kiyoshi, and thank you so much for the link, Michael. I would definitely put it out there for everyone. So I'm going to go to Kiyoshi. I think you had a comment about where we were going in the conversation.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks, Michael, for that information. It's always good to be educated on things. I want to also acknowledge Brandon for that amazing share that you had. And I really resonate with what you said, Brandon, as far as like, when did they really, like, when has white America really cared for the Black community like right now? Like, they're telling us, oh, we care about you guys. Here's the vaccine. Take it for your health. It's like, yo, it's all about what you said before, M-O-N-E-Y. It's all money. Like, the healthcare system would not be popping like it is unless people were sick. So, like, the more people they can get sick, the more money they'll make. So really, I look at it like this. Like, we can talk, argue, debate, share information all day, but it's like, how I see it is like, okay, when have they really cared for us? Like, I don't know. I mean, I worked in the healthcare system for a little bit, and I'm like, I seen the numbers. I used to do EKGs and work alongside doctors and nurses, and like, it's a shit show. They're feeding people bullshit food in the hospitals, but yeah, like, I worked at the U of M hospital, one of the top 12 hospitals in the nation, right? At that time, and it's like, okay, like Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. Food is medicine. Like, food should be medicine, right?
He got that from Imhotep, though.
Yeah, Imhotep. Okay, there you go. That's what's up, man.
Hippocrates was a child of Imhotep. Hippocrates studied the teachings of Imhotep, who's known as the father of medicine. Okay, well, there you go. I got to look into that. Thank you, brother Imhotep. The gist of that is that, like, food is medicine. So basically what I'm saying is that the hospitals are giving people bullshit food. The airports, when I fly on the airplane, it's like the airports are giving people bullshit food. But yet you see advertisements everywhere about vaccines. So that's all I gotta say is, like, they never cared about our health. Why trust them now? That's all.
There's an interesting segue here that he just mentioned about Imhotep. Because if we actually go back to the pharaoh right after Akhenaten, his name was Thutmose. And Thutmose was an interesting pharaoh. And I'll tie this all in because he was the pharaoh that when the Jews became started to multiply in numbers, the Egyptians got nervous because they said, if we don't control this and put a stop to this, they could take over. I use that analogy when we talk about this concept that has not been talked about, but if you read The Harbinger, it talks about this concept of population control. And why is that important? Because now you're talking about resources and scarcity, which is a much more complex conversation that some people may not be prepared to have. But when you start looking at the amount of people on the earth, the amount of people in the United States, the amount of scarcity, the amount of resources that exist, food scarcity, which we're starting to see now, energy scarcity, which we're starting to see now, it starts to have you think, well, you know, is this pandemic, we won't say it, well, it's not real, and we won't say that, but we will say, is this pandemic being controlled and politicized and being used as more of a weapon than as a way to say, how do we solve this problem to keep people healthy and to keep people safe? Or is this becoming something where people are starting to realize and use this as a political tool, which has now become this vessel for removing your civil liberties in the name of keeping you safe? And once again, it's a sensitive conversation, but it's one that I think if anybody needs to have it, if anybody understands of what it means to have your civil rights taken away or not adhered to, it's Black folks.
Thank you. Dr. Johnson, how are you doing over there?
I am just taking it all in. So it's hard for me because I agree with a lot of things that are being said. I do believe there is a lane for both. There are a lot of things that happen within healthcare that I feel like are motivated by money. And that's, you know, there's no other way to explain it. And, you know, just like we said, we had people who wanted to see what happens with the vaccine and let other people take it first. You know, I said the same thing myself. I want to see what happens with the first few thousand people who get the vaccine before I get it, because I just didn't feel like I wanted to be, quote unquote, the guinea pig. And I just didn't have the faith at that time from, you know, how fast everything moved with the vaccine and the way everything transitioned. But that being said, there are a lot of people who don't believe in the vaccine and or did not even think COVID was real that then come to the hospital, and you know, we're taking care of them and they're in tears on their deathbed as I'm having a conversation about you going on a ventilator and the possibility that you might not come off of it. You know, the same people who had refused to wear masks and have taken this opposition to everything that we're being told. So it puts us in a compromising situation because this is a career that I chose, but I did not choose to have to take care of people who are so oppositional sometimes with everything that you're telling them to do. And then they come to you when they need you at that point, and you feel like some of it could have been prevented. Right. So even when we get to the point where we're talking about mask versus no mask, and vaccine versus no vaccine, who's vaccinated and who's not, a lot of the conversations we've had about vaccines in the past, especially in regards to children, there's an argument about, you know, well, my child has to be exposed because your child is vaccinated. When we talk about measles, mumps, rubella, and the theories that people have of, you know, autism being caused by that, and other theories that are out there versus parents who are saying, well, if your child gets measles and my child is forced to be in a classroom with your child, you're putting my child at risk. So the vaccine, you know, topics, it's not, the opposition is not new. It's been there. And it's never going to go away. I mean, we have our opinions, and unfortunately, like with most things, we listen, but we tend to have our own opinions, and you're either stark for it or stark against it. And it's nothing wrong, you know, like Kiyoshi said in the beginning, you respectfully hear other people's opinions, and it's just interesting. There's always a gray area, and, you know, there's some things you can side with on both sides of it.
Ms. Marnese.
Yes.
I just want to interject something quickly. I talked about this on my show in the past couple of weeks. There's a ban on menthol cigarettes that's going to take place from the federal government, and menthols are targeted towards African Americans and have been for years. But I just want people to look at this information from the American Lung Association, because when we talk about like, okay, what's in the vaccine, I'm not taking it, you know, for some, not anybody here on the panel, but some people say, well, I'm not taking it, I don't know what's in it, right? Some of these same people smoke cigarettes. When you go research cigarettes, there's 600 ingredients in cigarettes. Only a fraction of those ingredients are on the side of the package. What is on the side of the package is a big warning label from the Surgeon General that says smoking cigarettes could be hazardous to your health. When you research cigarettes, cigarette smoke creates 79 chemicals that are carcinogens, cancer-causing agents. If you look, I'm gonna put this link here in the chat. This is from the American Lung Association, because about 45,000 African Americans die each year because of tobacco-related issues, cigarettes, things like smoking cigarettes, things like that, right? And it's like, I guess maybe because cigarettes are legal and they just been around for so long, it's something that we don't focus on, you know, but having this conversation here dealing with health and things like this, it makes you start wondering. And then the other thing is, some of the people say, okay, well, I'm not going to take the vaccine because I don't know what's in it. I'm not saying you should take the vaccine, but some of those same people will go to white-owned marijuana dispensaries and buy marijuana and smoke it, and it comes from white people, and they don't know what's in that either, but they don't say nothing about that. So I'm just saying. Okay, but check this out.
Okay, Michael, and I understand that, right? Because I see a lot of posts on Instagram. I think the difference is that people not taking the vaccine, and like Theresa said, this is an old argument. I mean, this is an ongoing argument, and it has been an old argument about vaccines and anti-vaccines. But the thing is, the government is putting people against each other and putting people in a compromising situation. You take it, you can't do this. If you don't take it, you can't do this. If you take this, you can do that, right? It's a personal choice to smoke. We didn't bring the virus and all that stuff over here, okay? So that's, in my opinion, that's the difference, right? And I understand.
Well, I'm not saying it's exactly the same thing. I'm just showing an analogy. And 45,000 African Americans die each year because of tobacco. Okay, so when we have this health conversation, if we start looking at cigarettes, because a lot of people don't realize how many ingredients are in cigarettes, but only a fraction are on the package.
I definitely get your point, Michael. I definitely get your point. However, it's a personal choice to smoke or don't smoke, right? So I should not have to be made to take the vaccine or have my civil rights or my human rights taken away from me because I don't want to get my kid vaccinated, or if I don't want to get vaccinated. That's what I'm trying to make, right? And nobody's trying to stop you from smoking or doing whatever you want to do. The campaign against smoking has always been here. Okay, so I guess my point is this is more of a civil and human rights violation. That's where I'm going with that. But I'm going to come back to Brandon.
You know, Marnese, I think you are not only right on point, but I think the bigger challenge here is, and I'm just going to say it on here, the government doesn't give a damn about you. So can we stop acting like they do? Because but let me say this. If they did, then when we talk about food deserts, the fact that if you live in Chicago, New York, DC, Baltimore, New Orleans, and you live in the hood, more than likely your access to quality food is scarce, meaning it ain't there. You know, if you want to talk about, you know, just healthy foods and healthy living, that has not, and maybe this is something that our leaders should have advocated for it more, but for every person who may have lost their life, when we talk about health disparities, we've known that that's been an issue in the Black community for years, for decades, yet it didn't become a real issue until COVID-19, which is why I go to say that, to me, that it's not about the pandemic, it's about what the pandemic has exposed. People said, oh, well, these Black communities are being hit so hard because of COVID. Folks, if you live in a neighborhood that has challenges, we've had issues since the 70s. And so I think we really need to stop and look at this with a different lens and saying that is the pandemic, once again, being used, and I'm not going to say, you know, people say, well, are you going to get the pandemic? Excuse me, are you going to get the vaccine or not? That should be your choice based on your health and your healthcare provider. The government should not be telling you that you have to get it or you can't be a regular citizen. And I'll leave on this. In China, there is a concept called social credit. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but in China, very similar to your credit score, they have used this system as a means to determine where you go, what you can do, what you can purchase, and literally it's based on a numeric system. Now, why do I bring it here? Because if you look at what's happening around things like, you know, determining if you don't have a vaccine card, then you can't do this, you can't do that. What's happening is that the government, whether they acknowledge it or not, is creating social pariahs for people who simply believe in what we call choice. And the challenge with that is that if we don't have choice, which the Constitution gives us, but if we don't acknowledge that, then now we're talking about, this is no longer about just the pandemic. This is about a system that is something that we on this call don't recognize, because that means the choice the choice to be free, the choice to travel where you want to go, the choice to go where you want to be educated, the choice to do what you want to do. It becomes now a situation where the government is telling you what to do. And that is something that if we do not take this more serious, could be something no one on this phone has ever recognized in their lifetimes.
Well, thank you so much, Brandon, for that takeaway. As we wrap up, I wanted to say, of course, thank you all for being on the Marnese Live Talk Show, but are there any takeaways that you can offer our viewers tonight about, you know, mental health, the vaccine hesitancy, and we all said that this is a personal choice, right? But is there anything you can offer people who's listening in about this whole topic? Because we say we're going to get to a new normal, but there's no such thing, in my opinion. So I believe this is an opportunity to create the world that we really want. But we have to be really honest and understand that if we don't tap into our inner activism, revolutionary spirit, that I know it's there because our ancestors put it there and equipped us with it, we can really get set back as a community. So I just want to leave that there. Not trying to have the FBI at my door, you know, not yet.
Freedom of speech.
Not yet, but you know, do you all have anything to offer as we wrap up?
I just want to say, I think you have to make the decision that's best for you. Mm-hmm. Make an informed decision, do your research, talk to people, ask all the questions that you have, and make the decision that's right for you. And when you think about health disparities, do your best to educate yourself in general. What is healthy for you? Eat better, move your body, exercise, do things that are beneficial for your health, because COVID is not the first virus or disease process to disproportionately affect Black people. We still have heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, you know, or high cholesterol, all these comorbidities that are, you know, affecting the Black community at much larger proportions. And a lot of them can be linked to diet and exercise and the things that you are consuming. So do your research, you know, just as an individual. And I would just say, you know, strive to be a better you. Your health is something that you are in control of.
Thank you. Kiyoshi?
Yeah, I love that, Dr. Theresa. Thank you so much for that. I'm a big advocate for mindfulness, health. I'm also a big yogi. I always say, you know, less TV, less news, more nature, more tuning in to the inside, you know, mindfulness, meditation, silence, really like tapping into what feels good in your heart. You can even ask your heart, okay, God, heart, what are you telling me? What's the right decision? And then go from there, whether you choose the vaccine or not. Just how you maneuver through life. I feel like there should be a balance, movement, diet, cutting out your gluten, cutting out the sugar, cutting out the dairy. Those are 3 culprits that fuck up the Black community and people in general. Really like eliminating the fast food. The gluten is huge. I feel like there's not enough emphasis on that. Sugar and dairy. Then also getting your 7 to 8 hours of deep quality of sleep. Sean Stevenson talks about this. Y'all can research him. Sleep is huge. When you look at like as far as what it does to our health, I feel like there should be advertisements all over the place for sleep. There's all advertisements for everything, like vaccine, this bullshit, whatever. Yo, sleep, get your deep quality sleep. Y'all research that. Look at the benefits and pros for sleep. It's so simple, but it's super necessary. Also, make sure you like your loved ones you're around. Make sure you're hugging them. We need touch. I know it's like 6 feet social distance. I respect that, but as far as like people who you are able to be close with, like get a massage or touch, whatever it is. We need community. We need touch. Find people who can support you and who you support yourself with. I think those are huge things as far as keeping us healthy. And make sure you're stretching, drinking water every day. And that's all I want to leave you with. And decision is yours. You know what I'm saying? I respect whatever you choose.
Kiyoshi gave us a whole plan. Okay. He laid out everything. Okay. So you guys really got some takeaways from Kiyoshi. Brandon, did you have anything else to add before I go to Michael?
Guys, here's the bottom line. Straight shooter, Brandon Brice. Stay healthy. Don't fall for the okie doke, because there's a lot of people making money on you. And at the end of the day, follow the money trail. Don't listen to what's coming out of the White House. Follow the money.
Follow the money. All right. Brother Michael.
Yeah, a few things. Once again, Miss Marnese, thanks for having me back on the show. Kiyoshi gave us a lot of information. Whether you take the vaccine or not, there's information that deals with boosting your immune system. And it talks about how something like 80% of COVID-19 patients are deficient in certain vitamins like vitamin D, things like that. So that's just like good, sound advice, regardless of what you do. Okay. Getting quality sleep. I know I'm working on that. I do radio 6 days a week. I'm on 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm working on getting more sleep. Eating healthy. Okay. Because a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to take the vaccine because I don't know what's in it, but they eat garbage. Okay, so regardless of whether you take the vaccine or not, we still need to eat healthier. Okay, stop eating garbage. And then we need touch. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that as well. And we also have to be cognizant of really understanding what racism is. Racism is a system of advantage and privilege distributed based upon race that comes out of the ideology of European white supremacy. And we have to really be careful how corporations target us with unhealthy food. This is something that we see during African-American programming, where we're targeted with sugary drinks and high cholesterol foods and fatty foods, things like this. These are all things we have to fight against. Lastly, with 2 things, I'll be on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm a panelist each Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So you can follow him on YouTube and Facebook at Roland Martin. And also I teach an online course. I'm a historian and study history for 30 years. I teach an online course on Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, called Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa. Oh, look at her. Oh, thank you, Marnese. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. So we deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We started Ancient Kemet, Ancient Egypt, and the Nile Valley region of Africa. It's a 9-week online course, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do the classes live online. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch it over and over again. I posted the link here on the thread. The course is $80. It's regularly $130. As soon as you register, you can watch the class we just did this past Saturday. And then also I taught the class in February and March, kicking off African-American History Month. All those classes are archived as well. So you can watch that. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, everything. And we also do it the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, who take the teachings from ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt into Europe. And this is what's going to bring Europeans out of the Dark Ages and we see how this leads to the transatlantic slave trade taking place also. And you can visit my website as well, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And I'm on 11 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9-10 a.m. Superstation WFDF. Follow me on Facebook, the African History Network, Michael Imhotep on Facebook, Michael Imhotep on YouTube. We broadcast there as well. And I'm on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, also the African History Network show. Thank you, Miss Marnese Jackson.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
You said a lot there.
So I'm a talk show host. What do you expect?
Clearly. Clearly. Thank you all so much for coming on to the Marnese Live Talk Show. This was really awesome. And coming back, Kiyoshi, Michael, and Dr. Johnson, and Brandon, thanks so much. It's nice seeing you again. So you all be safe, and everybody share this information with your friends, your family. This was very fruitful, and I honestly, if you didn't get something out of it, I did. Okay, and I really appreciate the historical and revolutionary context, because that's what we need. We need to move our communities forward. So I want to say have a great night, and I'll see you all next week on the Marnese Live Talk Show.
Thank you. Thanks, Marnese.
Blessings.
All right.
See Michael,
all right,
Brandon, Theresa.
Deuces.
Peace, peace.